following is intended only for mature audiences.
Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
And I'm number one fan, Tim.
I am once again gainfully employed.
That's good.
All I can tell you is that I'm working security at a hospital.
Dear God, no!
Okay.
That's all there is to say.
All right.
This episode is not really about that as much as it's about part of the hiring process for this job. One I was not expecting, but I should not have been surprised about. They sent me the email saying, congratulations, you're hired. You have 3 business days to go and take a UA at one of these 3 clinics, or the offer will be rescinded. Now I'm like, oh, so I should get on that. So I called, and I scheduled. So I had my choice of clinics on the far side of St. Paul, just off of 94 in part of downtown Minneapolis, or out in St. Louis Park. And I thought, well, that Minneapolis one sounds closest. I'm going to shoot down 94, and then once it gets to the point where whatever the fuck I was on, I don't know if it was South Lyndale Avenue or what the fuck.
Okay.
So I get off of 94, and I'm sitting at an intersection, and there's a red light. I'm like, well, I'm looking for Franklin Street, and there's no sign here. That's weird. Okay, we'll see if the next street has a name sign posted. And I get there, and it's a number. I'm like, okay. So I drive for a few minutes, thinking, eventually this has got to say Franklin. And what I had done before I went is I MapQuested it. I looked at it. I studied it. Then I cross-referenced it with Google Maps to make sure. So I had it down. I drove for 25 minutes down this road.
In Minneapolis?
And then I eventually found myself in Richfield. And I went, uh-oh. And as I'm going, I'm getting more and more nervous about that I'm going to be late. But
yeah, we missed the appointment. That's not good.
But it's a UA, so it's not like they couldn't just squeeze me in quick. So I'm hoping that my bladder's ready to go. Well, good thing that I was having a panic attack about this as I whipped a UE and start heading back north. I'm like, oh, good, my bladder's starting to feel like it needs to be exercised. So at that point, I'm getting around to a half an hour late. And I'm driving up to one cross street. It's a few blocks before where I should have turned. Mm-hmm, I'm just trying to find the sign for Franklin. I'm like, I must have missed it. So as I'm going, some dude who's parking his car, he's parallel parked, he swings his door open. Now I've got a red light, and I'm the last car slowing down, so it's right next to him. I fucking dynamite the brakes. And I just glare at this motherfucker. And he looks at me like he's fucking retarded. Just like there's nothing going on up there.
You seem to have the worst experience with other drivers.
And then I'm sitting there waiting for the light, and he obviously walks around his car and down the street. So as we're going, I notice he parked so he could go to a walk-up coffee dispensary window. I'm like, are you fucking shitting me, you stupid cunt? You couldn't have waited another 5 seconds for me to come to a complete stop. You saw the light was red, I'm assuming because you're driving a car and you've been doing it for more than, let's just say, a month. You probably have some powers of observation and some skills of taking in the whole scene. But apparently not when it's coffee time. No, not in your tight little pants with your stupid $40 haircut, which I presume is to impress the other guys that he currently goes to meet up with in public restrooms that he meets off of Grindr.
How you fellas doing?
You.
So I'm driving, and I honk, and he turns around, and I flip him the bird. And I keep going.
That's one observation I've had with a lot of drivers. I mean, I work on the road a lot still. It's getting more and more, they just don't care what other cars are doing. You know, like he probably figured if I open up my door and somebody hits my door, I'm getting a new door. I might get a new car and their insurance will pay for it because, you know, they hit my door. Never mind the fact you're a dipshit that opened your door so another car would hit it.
I wonder what the rules are about that. If you open your door without paying attention and a car hits you and you had the opportunity to not open it when that car's right there, where the insurance company's going to put the fault.
I think it's up to the officer who's pretty much more or less at fault. Because I think, you know, they assign percentages. 70% this person's fault, 30% this person. Because when my sister-in-law got into a crash with my car years and years ago, they assigned 80% of the blame on the other driver and 20% on her, saying that she could have been driving a little slower to avoid T-boning this person that cut in front of her.
The overwhelming majority of states have a law that assigns fault to the person that opens their car door. When you think about it, this makes sense. The person that opens their car door is not moving and has the opportunity to look before opening their car door. On the other hand, the person that hit the car door is moving and depending on their speed may have very little opportunity to avoid hitting the door.
Well, the best part about this is I didn't see him pull into that spot. He had already been sitting there. So I'm assuming he played on his phone and then swung his door open. It's a pretty safe bet in this day and age.
Yeah, even when I park in a parking lot, like at Target or something, I look out my window to see if the other car next to me is starting to move, whether I saw any people or not.
I go 2 more blocks, and what do I see a sign that says? Franklin Avenue. And what intersection was it at? The intersection that didn't have the fucking sign.
Well, that's where you got to call Minneapolis and complain.
Oh, I actually went online right when I got home and filed a complaint.
There you go.
Haven't been down there to visit to see if they did anything about it.
Minneapolis, city that big, not a high priority. It'll be some weeks, if not months, before anything gets done about it.
Well, it's been weeks. It's been at least 6 weeks.
Could take longer. I know some of the stuff we do where I work, it can take a couple of months to get the ball rolling on some stuff.
Yeah.
Most of it, no. You know, a few days, but some of it takes a while.
The one sign missing for 20 minutes worth of road is the one sign I needed to fucking see.
You got to be kidding me.
So anyways, I drive the 1/4 mile down the road. I find the clinic. I park in the public lot. I cross the street. I get in the building. Some guy whose breath probably smelled like cum behind his mask asks me a series of questions and then points me towards an elevator.
You're just full of love in this, son, aren't you?
I apparently was bumping into nothing but gay dudes that day. Have you recently traveled outside the country? Okay, that's good. Are you running a temperature at all?
If he talked like that, he's probably light in the loafers.
It seems like a good bet he has taken a D or two. So I get in the elevator. There was another gentleman in there. I tell him what floor I'm going to. He's apparently going the opposite direction. And he's like, oh, do you want to get out? I'm like, no, that's fine. So we go to his floor, and then he gets out. Just little contextual detail. This gentleman was Somali. And as he's getting out of the elevator, he says to me, thank you, sir. Have a good day. And then the door shuts. And I'm like, that's fucking weird. Why did he? What the hell?
Thanks for not beating me up.
Is he saying that because what? He assumed that when a guy that's white with a shaved head got in there with him, that he was going to be the victim of a hate crime? What the fuck? Neither here nor there. So I get off on the floor to go for the UA. I come up to the desk. I'm like, hi, I'm here for my UA. Unfortunately, I got lost because of a missing road sign. And I'm a half an hour late. They're like, oh, are you Jay? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, we was afraid you weren't coming. We were saying, oh, you must not want that job very bad.
That really how they were talking?
Yes.
Okay.
She's razzing like, no, I would have loved to have been here on time, but the city of Minneapolis' inability to put up proper signage has resulted in my tardiness. Whoopsie. Okay, so I go and I get called back, and it's this old lady who's probably, done thousands of these, and she hands me the cup. She's like, are you ready to go? Yes. Okay, well, let's lock up your stuff, my jacket, my phone, my keys. I don't know why those would be useful in trying to cheat a UA. And then she goes, when you're done, don't put the lid on the cup. Don't flush. Don't wash your hands. Just open the door and hand me the cup. I did that. And then she sets the sample down on the desk. And she caps it. And then I sign for it. And then she puts a label over it. And then she bags it. And then I sign another form. And then she's like, okay, now you can wash your hands. Now you can flush. And I did that, and then I came back out of the bathroom like 10 seconds later, and I straight up fucking asked her, I'm like, wouldn't it make more sense for me to wash my hands before I touch a bunch of stuff on your desk?
I was going to say, when all the times I've done it, I give them the cup and everything, then they say, all right, you can wash your hands. And then I start, initialing and dating and all that.
Yeah, so I had taken one pen out of a cup of mini pens just like it. And her response to my asking that is, oh, we disinfect everything. And I'm thinking, really? Like you're going to disinfect every single pen in the desk? Or are you just saying that? And I don't think you're going to magically pick the one pen that I took out of there because I put it back. You're not going to pay attention to that shit. So that I just sign my fucking name with a pen that is covered in other people's dirty dick and pussy germs?
That's nasty.
Possibly.
There's
one place I went to. They had a cup of clean pens that said sterilized pens, and then there was another cup on the other side that said used pens. So when they told me I can't remember what I was filling out. It's like, take one from there, fill out the paperwork, and then put that pen in that cup there.
I mean, you think about it, is I touched my dick, then I touched a pen, then I washed my hands. I have to assume she does that the same way for everybody.
Probably.
Yeah, isn't that nice? So I get back out to the counter, and then they're like, okay, well, did you do it? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And they're like, okay, see you next time. And I went, probably not. I walked away. Fun fact, at no time did anybody ask to see my photo ID. I signed a piece of paper saying that I attest that I am the person named on the paper.
Maybe they looked through your wallet while you were taking a pee.
No, they didn't. It was fucking locked up in a cabinet in the bathroom with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she had to lock it, and the chick that handed me the cup to pee in and then took the pee cup and then also let me use the dirty dick pens, she had the key. So
see, I'm not even sure where the places I've gone, I don't think they locked my stuff up with me or whatever. I put it in a tray, and like a tote, and then that tote was put on a shelf with other totes. And then when I was done, they took it back out and gave it to me.
Interesting. Okay, so I take the UA, and then it comes time 2 weeks later for me to start the job. Now, I haven't worked in over 3 months at this point. And I'm like super nervous because my first few days I'm working, 8 to 4:30.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. I just haven't had to get up with an alarm before I wanted to in like forever, because when I was working as the social worker, I made my own hours. I just like roll out of bed like, oh, there's stuff to do? Okay. I set the alarm. I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning. 19 minutes before I'm supposed to be there because I set the fucking alarm for PM.
Nice.
And I had been up till like 2:30 with nerves. When remember like the night before the first day of a new year of school, you'd be like super nervous and have trouble sleeping? Did you ever get that? I had it all the time.
I had trouble falling asleep, but I usually fell asleep at within a half hour laying down, I guess recently my only comparison to that is like when I had to go to the chiropractor.
Oh.
And I didn't know if the chiropractor was going to hurt me or not.
Okay, fair enough. So anyways, I eat, brush my teeth, shower, dress, and drive there. And I come walking in at 8:02. I'm like, fuck, I'm late the first day. This is going to be great. So as I come walking in, there's this guy next to me. And I see his shirt says security. And I'm like, are you my new boss? He's like, are you my new guy? I'm like, I am. He's like, oh, good. Nice to meet you. I didn't have to punch in or nothing. He was making my timesheet for the first few weeks. It worked itself out.
Well, 2 minutes, I mean, shit, I don't know how many times I show up 1-2 minutes past 7 a.m. for my job. Boss don't care.
Right. So that first day, I'm just like, holy shit, there's a lot more to know about this place than I thought there would be. I didn't realize it was a hospital. I thought it was just like a clinic where people come for appointments and leave. No, it's a fucking hospital. A residential psychiatric hospital.
Nice.
So the first day, I'm like, wow, that was not great. I mean, I almost missed the UA, and then I almost was late the first day, and now I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, these are a lot of signs. I hope everything goes well tomorrow. I set the alarm for day 2. I make sure to set it for AM. I wake up in the middle of the night. My fucking phone had died. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how many signs is the universe trying to send me right now?
Don't you leave your phone plugged in overnight so I can charge?
No, I leave it on the nightstand next to me.
See, I plug mine in next to the nightstand and the phone's on the night. So every night when I go to bed, I plug it in and it's fully charged the next morning.
Yeah, I don't have that problem because I don't run apps. It's a flip phone. I don't have to charge it that much. That was day number 2. And then I go to work and I'm still like, oh my God, there's a lot to learn. The fucking number of doors I have to check. And the amount of responsibility is way higher than I thought it would be. I'm like, no, I need to stick with this shit. I go home. Morning number 3. I had set my alarm. I woke up 2 hours before my alarm and could not get back to sleep. So I got up and I worked out for 2 hours. And then I went to work. And I'm still there and it's worked out fine.
Good.
So yes, I'm back working. It's not the greatest that I have responsibility. Again, I liked sitting at home on my ass and doing whatever I wanted all day. It was a nice post-social work sabbatical is what it was.
After the pressures of your last job, yeah.
And I know this isn't a tour de force excitement episode, but I was just like, I keep having these odd adventures. Like, this is almost like Seinfeld or Curb Your Enthusiasm. The amount of shit that goes wrong all the time, no matter where I go. It's like, am I fucking cursed or is my life the Truman Show? What's going on? Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann.
And I'm number 1 fan Tim.
And that's the end.